Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a product review. Today we are going to review a foundation that by no means is new to the market, but is somewhat new. I believe it's about 2 or 3 months old, possibly less. I've seen a few people review it and I've heard, I would say overall about 85% positive reviews. So I just really wanted to try this foundation out for myself to get an idea of how the foundation works. The foundation we are talking about is the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour full coverage foundation. You guys know I love full coverage. It's affordable, so for me this could work because I am a high-end queen and I do tend to just edge more towards like kind of high-end products just because I find that, you know, that's what works and I kind of just like to stick to that kind of thing. But I definitely do like to try more affordable things for you guys and obviously just to have, you know, a general opinion of a lot more products. Before we get into this review, if you are new to my channel and so far you like what you're seeing, don't forget to subscribe. If you are already subscribed, click the bell notification so that you'll be notified whenever I post a video to my channel because sometimes YouTube be playing. So this is supposed to be transfer resistant with up to 24 hours worth of wear, that it moves flexibly with your skin. It looks and feels naturally flawless all day. So this foundation retails for £9.99 in the UK. I'm in the shade Caramel, which is the number 60. There was only one shade after this, which was a Cocoa, and I think that was a bit too rich for me, so I decided to go with 60. We're going to do a wear test, keep it on for about 6 or 7 hours, see how it kind of wears. Just for you guys information and for those of you who don't know, my skin is normal combination. I generally don't get too oily, I generally don't get really dry. My skin is overall just quite normal. I do get sometimes oily in my T-zone depending on obviously the climate, that kind of thing, but generally my makeup does withstand a lot of heat and a lot of like different conditions. Can you open? What I'm going to do, guys, to make this review a tiny bit different from some of my other product reviews is try it one side with a brush and one side with a beauty blender. Now, I usually always use a sponge. This is the Tarte Quickie sponge. I normally use that, but obviously for the purpose of a review and for the purpose of obviously testing it out in the way that some of you guys might apply it, that's why I'm trying that out today. The brush that I'm going to be using is this Makeup Geek Face Buff brush. I also want to see sometimes because some foundations are more full coverage with a brush or some are more full coverage with a sponge, so obviously that's what I want to know. I'm going to pop this out on my palette. Just for you guys information, the primer I've used today is the Fenty Beauty Primer, just in case some of you guys feel like something like that might make a difference. Okay, so we are first going to do one side. Let's see how many pumps we can get. We've got like a full 2.5. I'm going to go in first with my Makeup Geek brush and blend that out, see how that applies. I'm not too sure how this will work in terms of colour match. It does look a tiny bit light, but maybe it will kind of just blend into the skin. So when I was in the shop, I was really tempted to go in and try Cocoa, which was the shade after this, but that was too warm for me. So I was tempted to buy both of them, but when I put it on my hand in the store, it virtually disappeared. Like, this is my hand with it blended in. Ass shitty bitch, ass shitty bitch. It's taking everything in me not to reach in my drawer to get like a darker foundation, but obviously that will defeat the purpose of this foundation review. I'm going to do one more pump because I'm not really happy with the coverage there. I'm not really loving the coverage of a brush, if I have to be honest, and I'm not loving the texture. It seems like it's just kind of disappearing. It's looking very, very dry. What is this? As for radiant looking, I'm going to go ahead and apply 2 full pumps to do the beauty blender side now. I think what I would do is just use my sponge afterwards to just even it all out because with the brush I'm not loving it. Okay, already I'm liking it more with the beauty blender side. Can you see how this side looks very sheared out and then this side looks like full of colour? Like, I could get away with using this as my shade because the sponge is just packing on a little bit more product, whereas the brush is literally just spreading out and it's just making it very difficult to use. So I feel like this side already looks much, much, much better. I feel like you need to kind of apply a lot on and then kind of like move it around with a sponge. Maybe something a bit more wet and something that you can manipulate a tiny bit is a lot better for applying this foundation. I don't know. It's covered my darkness. I did have some darkness right there. It could do a tiny bit better of a job. Let's put a tiny bit more on. So this right here is the side with the foundation brush. This right here is the side with the Tarte Quickie blending sponge. I'm not even going to bore you guys with the details right now on which one I think is better because I think it's obvious looking at my face which side is better and which side obviously I think is better. I hope you guys will agree, otherwise unsubscribe because you guys are trying to play me and set me up for failure. Not having that. I just applied one more pump to my palette. I'm going to go ahead and just pop this on there. This way we can also test out if the foundation is buildable, because this side is pretty much probably already set itself a tiny bit. By adding another layer, we can obviously see if it's buildable, if it works with multiple layers, which so far it's looking okay. Could be a lot better, but it's nothing that we cannot fix with some bronzer and some concealer and highlight and prayer and fasting and an exorcism and a leap year. It's covered the dark marks on my nose, which is quite good. I have some hyperpigmentation on my nose from where my glasses have sat for so many years. And it's also covered the hyperpigmentation that I have around my mouth. It's covered this dark scar here. So if you guys are trying to judge this foundation on how it will do in terms of any hyperpigmentation or anything you might have, it's doing a decent job. And like I said, it is buildable, so you can work at it. If I were to judge this just right now, I think the colour match is off. I think it's almost a tiny bit too neutral and almost a tiny bit too yellow. I think that they could definitely do with just like cooling this out a tiny bit more. Just because looking in my mirror, it does look quite yellow. I don't think it looks as yellow on the monitor just having a look at it, but obviously I have to judge it on what I can see in real life because I exist in real life and not, you know, on YouTube. It doesn't seem to be creasing around my mouth just yet. In terms of the finish, I like it. It could be a tiny bit nicer. It doesn't seem to be sitting as smoothly on my skin. It seems like it's highlighting some of the small bits of texture that I have here, some small bumps. But I'm going to go ahead and set my face now with the powder, and we're going to see what it looks like once it's set with a powder. If you have previously watched some videos on my channel, you will know that I love the Airspun powder because it's super full coverage and makes your foundation look flawless. But I don't want to let this foundation cheat. Like, if it's rubbish, I need to know. I feel like when you use the Airspun powder sometimes on some foundations, even if they are rubbish, that powder makes them look, because that powder is just... I'm going to use a lightweight powder today. Number one, because I want to see the finish of the foundation without altering it too much with a heavy powder. And number two, I want to see how it does in terms of oil control with a powder that is not so mattifying. Do you get what I mean? If any of you guys are oily and want to know kind of what it does in terms of oil control, I think try and use it with a lightweight powder. So that will let you know if you need a powder that's a bit more intense, or that will let you know if you could use a powder that is a tiny bit more lightweight. Naturally, I'm going to use a Dermablend loose setting powder because this stuff is amazing. I'm going to do something that I encourage people not to do all the time, but I have to do it for the sake of this review. I'm just touching it. It has like set itself in a way. Like, I could really get away with leaving like this. Like, it doesn't feel wet at all, which is quite nice. It's self-setting. Ching! But let's see what it looks like when we set it with a tiny bit of powder. Now I'm literally dusting a tiny bit on here. This is a Morphe brush. This is a Morphe 41. I always set my foundations in a way before I go in with any cream products. I know. It's just, I like it like this because I feel like you're starting off with a really strong matte base. And I can always add things to glow up my skin and all that afterward. So this is what my skin is looking like now with just a light layer of this powder on. I do like the way it's looking. Again, the foundation is clinging on a tiny bit to dry patches. So far, if I had to judge just what I'm seeing right now, if I'm judging out of 10, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. In order to get this foundation into like the 8 and 9s, I'm going to have to see great oil control. I'm going to have to see it looking mattified but not dry. I'm gonna realistically have to see how this colour kind of blends into my skin, because you know sometimes you have foundations that look really whack in the bottle and then you put it onto your skin and they look really whack, but after they sit they just like blend more into your skin. Just me. And also little things like laugh lines, crease and under eyes. Those are small kind of things that I'm looking out for. So right now it is 15:49, which would mean I've had this foundation on for maybe about 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my makeup like I always do in my reviews. If I'm doing my makeup and I do notice anything, I will pop that camera back on and I will let you guys know. So guys, I will see you in a few. It is now 16:49. It's exactly an hour to when I put this foundation on. I've done my whole entire face. One thing I did notice was that the foundation was super dry. I actually had to put a lot of my Smashbox primer water on. Sponsored, not sponsored. I wish. To just get this to look a bit more hydrated. I put one round and I was like, not enough. And then I put a second round and then I was like, okay, better. And with what it's looking like now, I do like it. With the colour match, I definitely made it work. You could probably tell that my neck is a tiny bit darker, but I just made it work. I'm staying at home anyway, so I'm just gonna... As far as everything else is going, there's not anything really crazy that I'm noticing that I don't like. Like I said, I've been wearing this for an hour. Let's see if we can get at least 5 more hours of wear from this foundation. Let's see what it's looking like. Hopefully I get a bit more of my oils just coming through with this foundation, just making it look a tiny bit more dewy. I do love a full coverage matte foundation, but I like a tiny bit of just like oil to come through. It just makes it look a bit more lived in, a bit more pretty, and it just makes it look a bit more flawless on the skin. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it looks in a few hours. So like I said, it is just going to 5 o'clock now. Hopefully we'll be back in about 5 hours, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, to see how this foundation is wearing up. So I've been wearing the foundation for 6 hours and some change, and I have to say, quite impressed. I have to state the obvious, it is not my colour, it's not for me. In terms of creasing around the mouth, that kind of thing, not too bad at all. There's minimal oil, like this is super matte. If any of you guys are contemplating whether to try this and you have, you know, quite oily skin, I'm gonna say go for it, girls, because I'm not even that oily in terms of skin or anything, and like it's controlled my oils super, like really nicely. I think once I get the colour match right, which yes, I'm gonna go ahead and buy the shade darker, obviously to mix. I don't actually mind doing this because the foundation is £10, so buying another one means I would have spent £20 on it. It's much better than like the Makeup Forever foundation that was like £30 odd that I had to buy 2 of to mix. I'd much rather invest in something a little cheaper like this that I can mix and kind of play with a little bit. It looks a tiny bit more like lived in, but not like overly oily, that kind of thing, you know? I really am impressed. I really am impressed. If my eyebrow wasn't falling apart right now, I'd give this whole look a 10 out of 10, but it is, so we're not going to do that. So to conclude this video, guys, out of 10, I'm going to give this foundation, I'm actually going to give this a 9 out of 10. I really like this foundation. I think the packaging is really great. I love foundations that come with a pump. It's just so easy. Only having using it a day, I'm really impressed. Honestly, I don't really have anything else to say that is negative except for the shade range. I don't think it's great that this 60 shade caramel is a tad bit too light for me, but then the cocoa shade is like for someone that is easily 2 to 3 shades darker than me. I just think there shouldn't be such a jump. If this is going to be the second last foundation, then it should be at least 2 to 3 shades darker than this, and then the shade that is actually the darkest should still be increased by a tiny bit more to be even darker. It's really great when brands come up with affordable foundations like these, but it's also more important for them to actually make them available for people who want to use them. First of all, I need Maybelline to step it up and just increase those shades, and once they do that, this will honestly be a perfect foundation. I really enjoy this foundation, guys. If any of you guys have tried this foundation, leave me a comment down below. Leave a like on this video if you have enjoyed it. Do not forget to connect with me on all my social media channels as well. Thank you guys again for all your support. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye. Yours for $9.99.